The truth about loyalty. Have you been lied to? Have you ever trusted someone deeply, wholeheartedly, only to feel that trust shatter in an instant? We grow up learning that loyalty is one of the highest virtues. It's what makes relationships meaningful, families strong, and communities stable. But what if I told you that this idea we've been taught our entire lives might be a lie? Niccolo Machiavelli, the Renaissance philosopher whose name still sends chills through political debates, had a very different take. According to him, loyalty isn't rare or hard to earn. It's simply an illusion, a carefully performed role we all play. Not because we're evil, but because we're human. Look around, the business partner who disappears when the profits dry up, the politician who changes sides the moment the polls shift, the friend who vanishes once your status fades. We don't like to admit it, but it happens all the time. And here's what's uncomfortable. They aren't necessarily betraying you. They're just responding to changed conditions, just like you probably would if the situation were reversed. Let me tell you about a man named Jason. He was the kind of employee every company dreams of. Loyal, hardworking, always the last one to leave the office. His boss often said, "We're not just colleagues, we're family." But when the company faced financial trouble, Jason was one of the first to be laid off. No explanation, no warning, just a thank you and a severance check. Jason didn't just lose a job, he lost a belief. Stories like Jason's aren't rare. They're everywhere, and they echo Machiavelli's chilling insight. People remain loyal only as long as it's in their interest to do so. And when the interest changes, so does the loyalty. Let's pause here and ask, have you ever felt this shift in someone close to you? A partner? A friend? A colleague? If so, what changed? Was it them or the context? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how your experience compares. Now, Machiavelli wasn't trying to make you cynical. His point wasn't that loyalty never exists, but that it's rarely what we think it is. We imagine loyalty as a moral code, an unbreakable bond. But most of the time, it's a contract we didn't realize we signed. A contract based on benefits, convenience, or social advantage. And when the value of that contract drops, people walk away. Not because they're villains, but because they're operating on a different rule book, one that measures risk and reward, not right and wrong. That might sound harsh, but maybe it's time we stop pretending. Maybe it's time we replace the fantasy of unconditional loyalty with something else, something real, something sustainable. Because if we keep believing that people will stand by us no matter what, we're setting ourselves up for heartbreak. But if we start to see loyalty for what it truly is, a shifting balance of interest and alignment, then we gain power. We become less likely to be blindsided and more capable of building relationships that actually last. So before we move on, I'll ask you this. Do you still believe in unconditional loyalty? Or do you think it's time to update how we see human connection? If today's story sparked something in you, if you felt the sting of misplaced loyalty, or the relief of finally seeing things clearly, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. We're just getting started. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into Machiavelli's mind and uncover why he believed that even kings couldn't afford to trust loyalty too much. Part 2's Unmasking Loyalty, Machiavelli's Brutal Truth. Let's go deeper. What made Machiavelli so dangerous wasn't just what he said, it was how accurate he was. In his most famous work, The Prince, written in 1513, he laid bare a truth that most people still don't want to face. People are loyal only as long as it benefits them. He didn't mean this as an insult. In fact, Machiavelli wasn't bitter or angry. He was observant. He had worked inside the Florentine government and watched loyalty vanish the moment power shifted. When the powerful Medici family fell, their supporters quickly pledged allegiance to the new regime. When the Medicis returned, those same people flipped back without hesitation. This wasn't rare, it was normal. And that's what scared people. You see, loyalty doesn't collapse because people are evil. It collapses because our interests change, and that change rewrites our emotional priorities. Machiavelli wrote, "It is easy to persuade people of something, but hard to keep them persuaded." Why? Because we constantly reevaluate what's best for us. And when the math no longer adds up, we leave. Now think about your own life. Have you ever felt someone slowly drift away, not because of a fight, but because something shifted? Maybe they got a new job, a new relationship, a new opportunity that made their connection with you inconvenient. And suddenly, the loyalty you thought was mutual starts to crack. Here's the truth. Loyalty isn't about emotional depth. It's about perceived value. When the value changes, so does the connection. Let me ask you this. Have you ever stayed loyal to someone, even when it hurt you? What made you hold on? And what finally made you let go? Drop your answer in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear your story. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't just corrupt, it reveals. When people gain power, or when their circumstances change, their real priorities show. This isn't just about kings and politicians, it's about us. Every relationship we have, friendships, business deals, even marriages, is built on mutual benefit, whether we admit it or not. And here's where things get really uncomfortable. Even love isn't immune. Think of the couples who promise forever until one of them finds someone better. Or the friend who disappears when your problems get too heavy. We often label this betrayal, but Machiavelli would say it's a recalculation. A woman once told me, "He didn't stop loving me. He just found a version of life that no longer included me." That sentence hit hard because it revealed something we all secretly know. Most relationships survive not on emotion, but on alignment. It's easy to be loyal during good times, but real loyalty is tested when things get hard. And that's where it often fails, not because people are bad, but because the cost of staying becomes too high. So how do we live with this? We stop expecting loyalty to be unconditional. Instead, we ask, what makes this connection worth keeping for both of us? That question shifts everything. It takes us out of fantasy and into reality. In the next part, we'll explore why, despite all this, we still cling to the myth of loyalty, and how that illusion, though fragile, continues to shape how we live, love, and lead. But before we go, do you think you've ever misunderstood someone's loyalty? Maybe you thought they left because they didn't care. But really, their world just changed. Let's talk in the comments. Your experience might help someone finally understand what happened to them. If this video is making you see loyalty in a new light, don't forget to subscribe. We're building something here, a space for people who want to understand not just others, but themselves. Part 3, the illusion of loyalty? Why we cling to a lie. If loyalty is as fragile as Machiavelli suggests, then here's the real question. Why do we still believe in it? Why do we still make promises, wear wedding rings, swear oaths of allegiance? Why do betrayal and abandonment feel like personal catastrophes, even when we know they're common? The answer lies not in logic, but in psychology. Machiavelli understood this too. He wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone sees, but few truly feel." We don't just believe in loyalty, we need to see it performed. We crave gestures, symbols, rituals, not because they guarantee commitment, but because they create the illusion of stability in an unstable world. Think about it. When someone tells you, "I'll always be here," your brain knows there are no guarantees, but your heart wants to believe. It has to, because The alternative, that relationships are conditional, that people may leave when it's no longer convenient, is terrifying. Loyalty comforts us. It tells us that someone will stay, even when it's hard, that love can survive distance, that friendship can weather time. And without that belief, it's hard to build anything that feels safe. But that safety is often an illusion. Have you ever felt blindsided by betrayal? Not because someone lied, but because you believed they wouldn't change? That's the real hurt. It's not the action. It's the collapse of a worldview. You didn't just lose a friend, a partner, a job. You lost the belief that loyalty meant something unshakable. That's why betrayal feels like grief. You're not just mourning a person. You're mourning a story you believed in. Let me ask you directly. Have you ever forgiven someone, not because they deserved it, but because it was easier than accepting the truth that they were never truly loyal to begin with? Leave your answer in the comments. You're not alone. The truth is, we cling to the myth of loyalty because it helps us function. It gives us a map. Without it, relationships would feel like walking through fog. No direction, no clarity. It's why companies reward loyalty even when they plan layoffs. Why politicians talk about the people even as they serve themselves. The performance of loyalty keeps the system running even if the substance isn't there. And here's where things get interesting. Machiavelli didn't say loyalty was useless. He said it was useful as a tool. He argued that wise leaders and wise individuals know how to maintain the appearance of loyalty, even if they're privately calculating their next move, because appearances matter. We see loyalty more than we experience it, and that's why it works. This might feel manipulative, but it's also deeply human. People need patterns. We need to believe in something consistent. Even if deep down, we know things are always shifting. So what should we do? We don't have to abandon loyalty, but we need to stop seeing it as sacred. We can honor loyalty without worshiping it. We can say, I'm loyal for now, as long as this remains meaningful, honest, and fair. That's not cold, it's clear. And clarity is the foundation of real trust. So here's a question for you. What's one belief about loyalty you've had to let go of? And what did you learn when you let it go? Share it below. Your insight could help someone else finally feel understood. In the final part of this series, we'll explore how to build strong, resilient relationships, not based on fantasy, but on truth. How to navigate a world without blind trust and still keep your heart open. If you've made it this far, thank you. You're not just watching, you're growing, and that's rare. Hit that like button if you're seeing loyalty through a different lens. Subscribe if you want to keep going with us. Because the truth doesn't have to hurt. It can also set you free. Part 4. Building real relationships in an uncertain world. If loyalty is not an absolute virtue but a conditional contract, how do we build relationships that actually last? Machiavelli offers us a roadmap not of illusions but of clarity. He wrote, "It is far safer to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." This sentence is often misunderstood. He wasn't suggesting that we become tyrants. He was making a deeper point. Love is unreliable when tested, but consequences, those are predictable. When people know that betrayal has real costs, emotional, financial, reputational, they think twice. It's not fear as in terror. It's fear as in respect, accountability, boundaries. Think about it. Why do companies use non-compete clauses in contracts? Why do marriages involve legal frameworks, not just romantic vows? Because even in our most personal relationships, we instinctively know emotion alone isn't enough. Real loyalty is rarely based on love alone. It's built on aligned interests and meaningful consequences. So how do you apply this in your own life? Start by asking, where are my expectations based on fantasy And where are they grounded in reality? If you expect someone to be loyal forever, but you've never built mutual benefit or accountability into the relationship, you're not trusting them. You're wishing, and wishes don't build strong foundations. Now, I'm not saying you should become cold or transactional. I'm saying you should become intentional. Ask yourself, what value do we share in this relationship? What incentives exist for us to support each other, even when it's inconvenient? What consequences, spoken or unspoken, are there for breaking that trust? Because here's the truth. People don't betray you just because. They betray when the cost of staying becomes higher than the cost of leaving. But you can influence that equation by creating relationships where staying loyal makes sense, emotionally, practically, even socially. You shift the odds in your favor, not because you control them, but because you understand them. Some of the most resilient relationships aren't built on grand declarations, but on quiet, consistent reinforcement of shared values and consequences. Let's look around. Families that survive generational challenges often have unspoken systems of interdependence. Communities that remain cohesive through crisis usually share mutual accountability and purpose. Even great teams at work, those where people go above and beyond, often succeed not just because of motivation, but because loyalty has become embedded in the structure. It's not magic, it's math. Now here's a tough question for you. Are there any relationships in your life where you've been expecting loyalty, but never actually built the foundation for it? It's not too late. Sometimes the most powerful conversations begin when we finally say, I want to make this work, not because I expect you to stay, but because I want to build something worth staying for. So what's the lesson? It's this. Real loyalty isn't blind, it's strategic. It's not about controlling others. It's about understanding the game we're all playing and choosing to play it with eyes open, hearts steady, and boundaries clear. In a world where betrayal is possible, understanding loyalty is protection. And understanding doesn't make you cynical. It makes you strong. Before we close, let me ask you, what's one change you can make today to build more resilient relationships? Not just with others, but with yourself. Leave your answer below. You never know who might need it. If this series helped shift your thinking, I invite you to subscribe. We'll be exploring more ideas that challenge assumptions and help you build a life grounded in clarity, not illusion. Because strength isn't about always being right. It's about being willing to see clearly and still choosing connection anyway. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay sharp, stay kind, and stay awake.